Hey everyone, it's Marla. Welcome back to Twinstrology, where we talk about twin flames, astrology, and ascension. And today we're going to talk about the Cancer full moon on December 26th. And we're going to look back at 2019 as well. So many of you know I did a video a few weeks ago talking about the end of a 4-year cycle. And I was looking at the chart for the December 26th, both the full moon that's happening this year and it was a Capricorn new moon eclipse, December 26, 2019. And I found some really interesting synchronicities that I want to share with you. So I've got the images of these cards up. You guys also know that I've been talking a lot about bridges for the last few months. And I've been getting cards with bridges on them, mostly these two cards here. So the first card, just bridge, is one that I've been getting a lot over probably the last 3 or 4 months. And it's come through about a couple different things. So obviously there's kind of this bridge, this rainbow bridge that we talk about in the ascension process. But this card also represents communication, overcoming barriers, bridging the space between people. And I've also been getting it in like actual references for places. Then this other card, no, whenever I ask about what happened in 2019, what that cycle was about, I get this card, which is no. But you'll notice in the image, there's a man standing there. And it's one of those bridges, I forget the name of it, but the bridges go up to let ships pass underneath it. And it says bridge closed. And there's even a little make a U-turn sign. So this is, to me, representing, especially within the masculine energy, it was like something was blocked. They couldn't go forward. Obviously, in this case, it was unions because so many people went into separation. And I would say, like from October 2019 to February 2020, judging by the comments, so many of you either had a separation with your twin or something else broke down within the connection. So it was a significant period of time. So I want to show you something that I found today that helped me understand what this 4-year cycle was about. Here's the chart for the Capricorn Solar Eclipse from December 26, 2019 on the inside, and outside is the Cancer full moon, December 26, 2023. So let me just pull this in closer because I want you to be able to see something. I actually discovered an asteroid called Bridges. And we have in these two charts bridges in a very tight conjunction. So what I discovered is that this asteroid Bridges is actually on a 4-year cycle. So it meets up with itself every 4 years. So this was just such an incredible synchronicity. And I want to talk about this a little bit more. There's some other synchronicities too, and I'm going to switch over to some separate charts so we can see the degrees and everything better. So this makes it a little bit easier for us to see. And so this year's Cancer full moon is on the left, and the Capricorn solar eclipse from 2019 is on the right. So let's bring these in closer so we can see them even better. And we're going to look here in Pisces. We've got bridge at 2453 over here, and on this one, bridge at 2541. So a little bit less than a 1 degree conjunction between the charts. First of all, it's interesting that the conjunction is happening in Pisces, right? Because the bridge we're talking about is a spiritual bridge, and Pisces is the sign of spirituality. That doesn't mean that other signs don't have a connection to spirituality, but Pisces is the sign of things that are not material, right? Higher dimensional bridges. And I want to talk about the Sabian symbols here. In 2019, the Sabian symbol that Bridges was on was a new moon reveals that it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects. Let's talk about the key words. And again, I'm using the 360 Degrees of Wisdom by Linda Hill. Diversifying. Applying talents in different directions. People splitting up and splitting off. New opportunities, the beginning of a new age. Letting go of the old and outworn. Separations. Embracing one's future without the need for others, coming to a fork in the road, divorces, new jobs, directions, and destinies, the dawn of a new era. Cautions are not giving or receiving emotional support, feeling split off and alone even when one is with others, the fear and loathing of possible separation, overthrowing the old too quickly, changing direction unexpectedly, relationships that fail again and again. So really interesting, right? Because the way she's interpreting this is that there's some separation because, well, the Sabian is it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects. So it suggests that people are going about their own work. I know that I've talked about this Sabian symbol before, but I don't remember exactly what. But it was a time where it was almost as if the twins needed to go their separate ways to work on their different projects. In this case, work on their own healing or to anchor their own energy, or even to build their half of the bridge, possibly. Now, this year, Bridges, is on the 25th degree. And that degree is the purging of the priesthood. Revealing the truth of people for who and what they are, cutting people off, throwing out things that don't measure up. Dismissals, opting out for moral reasons. Holes left where someone took up a lot of space. Cautions. Stressful battle over who's in charge. Something being revealed. Evicting people because they deceive, lie, or mislead, or just because they're not liked. Bringing somebody down. Scapegoating others. Corruption and scandal that threatens collapse. Wanting to appear to be doing the right thing. Cover-ups. And when I read this one little section that she says about this Sabian, periodically there's a need to cleanse and purify motives, leading to a better representation of moral or spiritual values. Sometimes we need to re-examine moral or spiritual sincerity in a person, corporation, community, or situation. Getting rid of the people or ideals that hold one back can open up situations to more trust, sharing, and enjoyment. You may have to dismiss someone or a group of people from their duties or from their ability to affect your life in some way. It's easy to lose sight of the ideal through the use of the rationalizing mind, the ego, security issues, or emotive passion. However, if someone has not lived up to their responsibility on some level, often it's best for the future and one's peace of mind to free them. So we could look at the Sabian just by the wording. It has this word purging in there. So we could take it to be purging on a spiritual, emotional, mental level, getting something cleared up. We could look at ourselves perhaps as the priesthood, or if you resonate with that term, the 144, the 144 being the priesthood. There's also this element that she brings in of like needing to purge people out of your life, which aligns with what I talked about for the energy of December, which was karmic relationships are under the microscope. Now, in 2019, a lot of you said that your person or you went back to a karmic partner. That was like part of what was in the energy with that bridge, was like you couldn't get away from the karmic partner. Now, on some level, that probably was because karma wasn't fully cleared. But it also did appear on the 3D level that a lot of the karmic partners, they kind of doubled down. Like, they really weren't letting go. And they were, again, I'm talking about what appears to be in the 3D. They were creating situations to like reel the person back in many cases. So, looking at this from the perspective of maybe karmic partnerships, is this a year where those bridges are going to be burned and new bridges built back to your person? In the chart for the Cancer full moon this year, it's actually Neptune who is on a new moon, reveals that it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects. Now, Neptune is the energy of bringing people together. It's the energy of there not being any separation or boundaries for people. Also, this Sabian talks about the beginning of a new age, the dawning of a new era. So, with Neptune now being on the Sabian, this could be a dawning of a new spiritual era. It could be the dawning of a new cycle. She also says here, if people are given their own measure of freedom, they may come back together when the time and energy is right. Perhaps it's a good idea to direct some energy into a new project at the time of the next new moon. Another kind of funny thing here is Neptune is on this, a new moon reveals it's time for people to go ahead. Only it's not a new moon, it's a full moon. But if we look back at the 2019 chart, the Sabian after this is a harvest moon, which would be a full moon. Now in 2019, Lilith was on that degree. A harvest moon illuminates the sky. But in 2019, it was a new moon solar eclipse we were dealing with. So what I'm getting is it's almost like Lilith in 2019 was referring to this new moon, and Neptune this year is referring back to 2019, especially because it's on that same degree where Bridges was. So we look at that Sabian for Lilith, a harvest moon illuminates the sky. Situations that are very ripe and full of fruition. Expanded perspective, making everything clear, a sense of achievement, seizing the moment to make the most of what's possible, the beauty of the moon in the night. Cautions are neglecting the task at hand because of the appearance of abundance, achievement waning because of neglect, lunatic behavior. So very interesting. Especially with the key words, it's almost like Lilith is saying, look ahead. So going along with the bridges is the Sabian for Jupiter in 2023, which is a bridge being built across a high, narrow gorge. Overcoming distance and separation, endeavoring to build continuity, solving problems with creative solutions, bridging emotional chasms, breaking down barriers, structures spanning distance between places or people, conquering time and space, taking one step at a time. Cautions, taking the long way around to avoid asking for help, using shortcuts to cut across real issues, only seeing the risks, not the solutions to problems, the fear of establishing connections. So that was another great synchronicity that we had around bridge. Another interesting thing that happened in 2019, because there was such a focus on separation at that time, was we had the asteroid Yeshua opposing asteroid Magdalena. So obviously Yeshua is referring to Jesus, Magdalena referring to Mary Magdalene, and they were both making a square to Uranus. But it was like the opposition with Yeshua and Magdalena of the masculine and feminine energy. Magdalena was also making an inconjunction to the new moon eclipse. Now, an inconjunction is a karmic aspect that is telling us that something is out of alignment and something needs to be adjusted in order to take it forward. Basically, there's some kind of karma that's unresolved. The Sabian for Magdalena is rock formations towering over a deep canyon, old structures and deep hazards. The choice, taking chances or standing still, walking close to the edge, risk taking, new takes on old situations, additions to things long established, Masada mountains, valleys, and gorges, fortifications, isolations, forces of evolution, rock, no going back, cautions, painting oneself into a corner, not being able to retrace one step, instability, erosion, jumping into the void without a safety net, doing a Geronimo, feeling like life is impossibly hard. So one thing to remember is that with the astrology and even using the Sabians, it's giving us insight into the future. So I feel like with Magdalena here, it's saying that, we're being given a choice. Are we going to cling to the old, or are we going to make new choices? Are we going to take a leap of faith? And so it feels like at that time, the answer was we didn't want to take a leap of faith. But maybe now, 4 years later, there's going to be opportunity to make a new choice. This was a new moon solar eclipse, so it was holding the energy of new beginnings. The asteroid for Yeshua was a council of ancestors has been called to guide a man. Inner knowledge, instruction, direct routes to deep sources of energy, karmic connections with the past, the place one comes from, ancient wisdom versus old fogies, proving bloodlines, memories of those who've gone before, the Akashic records. Cautions are reliance on conservatism, obsolete boards of authority, not being able to move with the times, needing the nod of approval from others to validate what one is doing, not being free to do what one wants, having to please the elders, bound by family or past life karma, nagging negativity, old-fashioned views that limit expansion. Yeah, like very much in line with what we've been talking about, that there was this inner knowing, but there was also all these karmic connections, and there was something about those karmic connections that either had to be satisfied or we were retreating into some old behavior pattern where we were looking for validation for our behavior, or there was some kind of fear of isolation. Now, obviously, there was a big fear of isolation at that time. So even though COVID wasn't hugely a big thing at that point in time, people that are very sensitive, like light workers, they're already feeling the energetic wave before it actually happens. So that isolation, separation energy was already there. I mean, I remember December of 2019 very vividly because I had a dark night of the soul that I had not had that type of dark night of the soul in probably 3 or 4 years. But like that Christmas might have been the worst Christmas of my entire life. And yeah, it was a really hard time for me. And I feel like a lot of that was not just my own, but things connected to what was set to happen in the collective. Besides just feeling the energy, we're all psychics as well. So even if we don't know something consciously, I mean, often many of you are picking up these things before they actually happen. But even subconsciously, the energy of is there of knowing what is coming and knowing what's going to happen. So going back to the 2023 chart, which is on the left. Okay, so of course we have the sun in Capricorn is going to be on the same degree as that new moon was, because pretty much on the 26th of December, pretty much the sun is on the fourth degree of Capricorn. And that Sabian is Indians, some rowing a canoe while others are dancing a war dance. I talked about this one in the 4-year cycle video, but I just thought I would bring it up again. How I read this Sabian myself is that there's two groups of people. Some are rowing a canoe, and when I think about rowing a canoe, I think about being at peace, kind of moving slowly, needing to move in unison. The others are dancing a war dance. So this group of people is wanting to create chaos, or they're psyching themselves up for some kind of violence. At any rate, this Sabian shows division, which we had in 2019, and we very much still have division within society. The actual Sabian for the Cancer full moon is at a railroad crossing. An automobile is wrecked by a train. This is not a great Sabian symbol to have for the moon. Not looking to the consequence of action, recklessly going for an objective, not considering the ramifications, having the guts to go against society, cars, trains, individual rights, rebelling, crossroads. The caution, recklessness, sacrificing individuals for larger gains, not looking left or right, going in the wrong direction, working at cross purposes, valuing possessions before people, going off the rails, emotional panic. Well, she says here, although the Sabian sounds worse than it often really is, there is a need for caution. The individual's ideas or actions will not easily survive in a collision with the more powerful collective, especially if they are reckless or not carefully thought through. Well, that's interesting because you could consider the automobile to be the individual and the train to be the collective because there's many more people on the train. Even with the best of intentions, this may not be a good time to be insisting bravely that you or your needs be considered. The collective has so much momentum, it will not stop its course to think about what's happening to a single individual. If someone pits themselves or their energies against a group or society, there is a good chance that they will lose, at least in some way. Be careful how much you take on in this situation. The symbol was prevalent in the life and death of Princess Diana, who we know died in a car crash. To me, it feels like the collective energy has such a momentum right now that it may feel that we can't make change. I would say that, in some respects, the best way to make change right now is to do it quietly. As I said in my last video, about our energy field changing, how we can change other people just by being ourselves. And Saint Germain even says that in the discourse, that you are more powerful when you are sitting in that energy, even if you are not saying a word. That is the biggest service that you can do for humanity. So I would say, especially with Mars, or not Mars, Mercury retrograde. Yeah, Mercury is retrograde and it's in a conjunction with Mars. I would not pick arguments with people. I would try to avoid difficult discussions right now, or I wouldn't try to force my point with people, because with Mars Mercury, that can often be arguments or people wanting to have their say, wanting to have their own way. We've got a lot of different configurations here with that Mars Mercury conjunction. First of all, it's in trine to Union, but it's in square to Bridges and Neptune. Actually, there's a trine with Mars Mercury Union and the North Node. This could be making preparations for future communication. Because while it could be argumentative communication, it could also be finding the courage to communicate, finding the courage to communicate your point. I want to just mention Lucifer's Sabian symbol too. The president of the republic or the ruler of one's country, developing willpower, inner power, discipline and integrity, discipline of thoughts, leadership, power and ability, accepting responsibility for one's actions, calling the shots, rulers, presidents, leaders, the need for loyal subjects, being voted in the democratic process, cautions, taking control, lording it over everyone, being overbearing, not allowing others to be in charge of their own lives, health, or situation, egotistical and self-centered, undermining others through a lack of self-awareness, dictators and tyrants, military governments. I bring this one up because it could have something to do with dark energies surrounding a ruler of one's country. It doesn't necessarily have to be a president, but given what the full moon is, there could be some kind of negative situation appearing on the world stage, and it might have something to do with the ruler of a country in a very negative way, or something could be exposed about the ruler of a country that shows them in a very negative light. So while we do have some Sabians that have some negative connotations that maybe are pointing to things going on behind the scenes, maybe like rulers or big corporations or the military being involved with something, we also have this energy to confirm for us that bridges are being built, things are coming together, we are overcoming separation and overcoming patterns, because when the moon is in Cancer, it's telling us that we need to release some of our patterns, and I think the purging of the priesthood would go along with that. Also, with the moon being in Cancer, it could be something happening with the family. It is Christmas and other celebrations. So, with the microscope being on karmic partners, remember that doesn't have to be a romantic partner. That could be family. It could be friends. So, there could be some tension within family situations or something within the home as well. Mercury is still retrograde for a few more days, so watch the communication, especially with that conjunction to Mars. Like I said, it could be challenging situations with people because they may be in the mood to argue. So best if you can just step back and put a shield around yourself and just try to maintain your sense of peace. So Merry Christmas, everyone. If I don't talk to you before the new year, Happy New Year to you as well. And I look forward for everything that's going to unfold for us in 2024.